Andy, did the Easter Bunny bring you good treats and candies and eggs? I mean,
So, this was our first year alone, Dave, with our kids both away at school. And we had the pleasure of talking with them and sharing a moment with them. But we abstained from like indulging in chocolates. We didn't think about it really. My wife and I didn't really think
yeah.
about it without them here. And we were watching church verses last night online on YouTube. And YouTube being YouTube, of course, interrupts the sermon for ads, which is always great, right? But
Yeah.
they brought up a Lindt ad for Lindt chocolates. My wife and I just
Yeah.
both looked at each other and we were like, oh, we totally forgot chocolates. We were both like salivating looking at those delicious chocolate bunnies. So, no, we didn't indulge in chocolates and treats, unfortunately, but we still had a great Easter here. How about you guys? Was the Pounder household running amok with Easter egg hunts and bunnies and all of the fun?
This is the when you have the disparity, like the older kids, and then you have the younger ones. The younger one still obviously loves to have this stuff, and guess what? It plays right into the dad mode. And I did indulge in some chocolate and and some stuff, probably too much, of course. And
No
now I'm
such thing.
probably have to spend 3 days recovering from all that I consumed. But it was an enjoyable day. We had a nice time with the family here. Our oldest, or our second son, was able to come home for Easter meal. This is where my wife loves Easter more than probably any other holiday. So we make we have a nice little Easter dinner. Probably again ate too much, but it was good. So we had our neighbors over too, which was
Nice.
nice, and so it was fun. Yeah, a fun time. So it was
Good.
an enjoyable Easter, Andy. So,
And you got
um,
to indulge in chocolate, so
and we got to indulge in chocolate.
good, good. I'm
So,
glad.
so Andy, I will tell you too. This was like just a nice, relaxing weekend for me. I just felt a lot like I don't know, maybe it was a spring break and with my kids that they didn't have all this stuff for this week coming up, but I enjoyed a lot of basketball this weekend, Andy. NCAA basketball. I watched more. Again, last week I said I watched more than I did all year. I probably watched more this week than I did. There's some good basketball games on, and
Yeah.
an interesting Final Four groupings. And I think, Andy, if UConn wins this whole thing, I'm going to win the poll because it's just me and one other person here.
Yeah.
And
You're in pole position, man. You've got the potential points to win this thing. You're looking pretty good. I'm effectively out of it at this point. So, I'm just cheering for some more good games here. And one, good luck to you and then hoping to win. But two, can we just pause and celebrate something that I think, there's a few things that galvanize a nation. We can pretty much all come together and celebrate, right? And NC State knocking out Duke is one of those
yeah,
types of things that, like, except for a few diehard Duke fans, right? Danny Dimes and his ilk, like the rest of us can come together here and be like, "Thank you, NC State, right? Thank you, Wolfpack. Thank you for doing what America needed you to do and eliminating the Blue Devils from the tournament." So, I mean, I'm happy for you, but I'm much happier for all of America to have a Duke-free Final Four, which is great. And what Clemson, Alabama? What are these teams doing? Like, who
yeah,
are these guys in basketball? What are they doing? Fun to see. Fun to
yeah.
see that matchup. So, hats off to Alabama for that. Exciting for sure.
I
But
think I
UConn
said
wins. I mean, UConn. We knew that going into the tournament. UConn's the champion.
they're going to be. I mean, yeah. I mean, the defense. I mean, they've just made team. They played Illinois. I was watching the Illinois game where they played. It was 23-23, and then UConn went on a 30-0 run. 30-0, Andy. I
Yeah.
mean, it was, and it wasn't like um Illinois couldn't like get like make shot. I mean, they couldn't obviously make shots. They were barely getting shots because UConn was just so suffocating. And you just sit there and like, wow, this is just is crazy. But to your point about Duke, I think I said last week as well. It's like, when these Duke players don't stay 3 or 4 years, you
Mhm.
can't build up the hate for them. Nope, that's not the case. I was watching the NC State game and I hated all the Duke players
Yeah.
because they looked like whiny bitches and through the whole thing, and they were sore losers.
Yeah.
And you just sit there and like, yeah, I'm glad NC State. NC, what a story this is, because they were 17 and 14 going into the ACC tournament. They had
Yeah.
no chance at the ACC, no chance at the NCAA's until they won the automatic qualifier by winning the championship. and then they go through and they're plowing through everybody in this thing so far. I mean, it's been crazy, Andy.
And they could make it, right? I mean, Alabama, they're playing good basketball. They're a good team, but they're not like nobody's calling Alabama to win this tournament, right? So the fact, I mean,
Right.
either Alabama or NC State's going to be in the tournament. It could be NC State. You know, they could be the team that gets selected to go and lose by 35 points to UConn in the finals, right? That could be their privilege. But are you Duke, Dave? I hold long-term angry grudges in football, and I hold them in NCAA basketball solely if you beat, our alma mater, the George Mason Patriots. Not that George Mason is good, but they've had a couple runs, right? And
Yeah.
it's that
Yeah.
team that, inevitably somebody will take Mason out. And Duke did that, and so, besides hating them for being Duke and winning endlessly, I still hold a grudge for them beating Mason now, probably like what 30 years ago,
Hey, you got to hold these things,
Holding
Andy.
it. I'm holding it. I'm holding it.
If you can't hold on to the grudges, what do you have?
What do you have?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but it was
There,
a
there's
fun.
forgiveness on Easter, Dave, but not for Duke.
That's right. That's right. It was a fun sports, and I watched a good amount of lacrosse too. There was a lot of good college lacrosse games out there last night to cap everything off. Maryland and Penn State, um, just really uh, good lacrosse to watch. And there was Notre Dame and Syracuse this weekend, and Um, Johns Hopkins was playing Michigan. It was good, just a lot of good lacrosse, and so exciting times all around in the Pounder household, Andy. So good
Dave, while we're
stuff.
talking lacrosse, I'll just note Paul Rabel posted on Threads an early 1900s lacrosse video, right? So it's like in the old brown and white type film, and even then, there's a wicked backhand, from
Oh, nice.
1900, and you're just like, that's pretty awesome. Like
Yeah.
there's been highly skilled athletes in that game for a long time, and it's fun to see that old film, and just see those guys go nuts. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's good to be a good part for the lacrosse season too, because you got the conference play coming, or now in fully entrenched, and then you have the NCAA tournament there is quite good as well. But with the difference with lacrosse and basketball, it's just the true blue blood teams, the true really good teams. There's really there's no surprise team in the Final Four. There's not
Yeah.
going to be an Alabama or an NC State in the Final Four. There is just lacrosse is in too many ways with the amount of players and just the skill on it. The really good teams are just really good, and it's typically like you may get a Penn State in there, which is still a top 10 team, but not always in the Final Four. They may come in, but typically it's going to be the same teams that you always see. Duke, unfortunately, Duke, Notre Dame, and then you get a couple other ones in there, and so it'd be fun to watch that season play out. And then we got the Premier Lacrosse League, so that'll be fun.
Right.
So,
Right.
um, all right, Andy, good sports check in to start off on a Monday. I always enjoy those. I did watch some UFL as well, Andy. That
Did you
wasn't
take it in? Did you watch the defenders fail early?
I did watch the Defenders. I enjoy the uniform colors. It's just different. But they looked like they had decent crowds. I mean, it looked like it was a decent setup. So we'll be interested to see how that plays out the rest of the year. But I did watch a little Defenders. I watched a little Birmingham. So yeah, not too bad.
Yeah,
So
big week in Alabama sports, always. Alabama,
always,
sports,
always.
right? I mean, Alabama gets it done when it comes to sports, no doubt.
There you go. That is true. That is true. So, okay, Andy, let's turn to the less enjoyable side. I think we probably transition to some politics here, Andy. Um, for anybody who wants to know remember what the living under a Trump presidency is like, this is the weekend that you can do it, right? This is what you have. Two particular incidents, Andy, I'd like to just call out and just harken back. Nothing. What's the adage, Andy? Nothing ever good happens after midnight or
Yeah.
something, or like 2 a.m. around 2 a.m. So if you're out there doing that, you might want to reconsider your life choices. In this case, the former president likes to post at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, most likely because he's been stewing on something for so long, and all of his handlers are in bed saying you can't post that or you shouldn't post that stuff, if that were even true. that he has handlers who could control him. But Andy, for most people send out nice little Happy Easter messages and likes to say, Happy Easter to everybody. Donald Trump likes to take these times to call out his those who dare oppose him. So here you go, Andy. Happy Easter to all, including crooked and corrupt prosecutors and judges that are doing everything possible to interfere with the presidential election of 2024 and put me in prison. He wrote in all caps on his social media site, Truth Social. He went on to say, I completely and totally despise, he's talking about those individuals. I completely and totally despise because they want to destroy America, which is, Andy, a now failing nation.
Yeah.
The only person who can save us is the former president. So nice Easter message, Andy.
Yeah, well, I mean, I appreciate that he leaned into it early. Being the
Yep,
holy man that he is, he was up early, for his sunrise service to take in, all
that's
the
right.
issues about, right? So he was up early
That's
getting ready
right.
to share, and thought he'd share a quick positive message on Easter for America. Look, I mean, let's acknowledge the truth here, Dave. The man is out to get Donald Trump and P. Diddy, right? We know this now, right? P. Diddy is being chased after by federal prosecutors, and those same, third world law enforcement officials are obviously after the former president. Listen, the whole Trump campaign is based on this fictional idea that America is falling apart at the seams, right? We're a third world nation, crime is rampant, disgusting immigrants are crossing our borders and ruining America. Like the whole fabricated chaos that is America. And then you walk out into any street in America, and it's like the world is great, right? I mean, the world. I mean, yeah, there's problems here. There's obviously things we need to make better. There's issues across the board, right? From infrastructure issues to certain criminal issues. Like, yeah, of course, those things exist, but like America's great. And the fact you've got a guy leading the effort to become president of the United States, campaigning on this fictitious idea that America is absolutely falling apart. It's like, what universe do you live in that you not only espouse this nonsense, but maybe even believe it? Like maybe you even believe it. Like America's doing great. America is awesome, right? We're living well. Life expectancy has started to go back up. Financially, we're doing very well. Slight tick up in inflation, but overall, the economy's getting better. People are healthier. Jobs are good. People are happy. Crime is down. Like, what universe do you live in, Donald Trump? You wake up on Easter and go absolutely ballistic like this. It's a remarkable. There's an idea I shared last week, Dave. From 1984, one of my favorite books. I've got parts of it inked on my arm. I love it. The idea of doublethink, right? The ability to hold two contradictory beliefs in your mind at the same time. And like Donald Trump campaigns on this idea of this warped America that only he can save, but also that America's great, right? America's fantastic. He loves America, but it's a horrible place to live. It's just this like weird juxtaposition of crazy ideas in his crazy mind. So hey, happy Easter, Donald Trump. Thanks for leaning into things. I don't even know where to go with that, Dave. I've ranted too long, but it gets me excited.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's the same idea as where you could say I'm worth $11 billion, but then I can't afford to pay a $400 million thing. I need to have that lowered, but I'm just being unfairly prosecuted. But Andy, I'm worth much, much more than that. I just don't want to pay that
Yeah.
type of stuff. So that was one fun element over the weekend, Andy. Again, this is what we'll have if we have reelect former President Trump. No doubt we'll have these type of comments on True Social all the time. The other one was quite an interesting one. It got a lot of headlines. An individual, I don't know where this was. I don't know if it was in New York or somewhere, New York, New Jersey. Had a large pickup truck, blaring with Trump flags and the thin blue line flags and a lot of other flags. But then also on the truck was I think it was a screen, like a one of those images where you can plaster on your car of President Biden gagged and hog-tied on effectively the back, as if we should be doing this to the current president of the United States. And one, I question your life choices if you're going to be doing like taking a very nice looking truck. It looked like a really they put a lot of money into that truck with nice big wheels and everything, and
Good
it looked
Ford, Dave, an all-American truck, Ford. Ford built
yeah,
it.
I mean, it was nice. I mean, and then you're going to put all of that on your truck. So I question your life choices there, and I am questioning your life choices. If you did that with anything, I'd question your life choices. But put the President hogtied like that, it's another thing. But then you have former President Trump liking that on his Truth Social part. He's gotten quite brazen on the insinuations of violence or his support of these type of activities, Andy. Again, I'm not sure which America we want to live in if we feel like this is acceptable behavior from our politicians or prospective politicians or anybody, frankly, in our country that we should have this. And so, what do you think when you saw this getting media attention, Andy?
Well, I mean, it's interesting at a lot of levels, right? I mean, it's the same time you're calling for America is violent and criminal and falling apart at the seams, and nobody's giving me any respect, right? I mean, Donald Trump's become Rodney Dangerfield, right? But while he's doing all this, then you go in and share things like this, right, which has the highest elected office in the land, the presidency, displayed in this type of manner. Again, it's just sort of like the chaotic nonsense that goes on in this man's mind, right? Like things are terrible, things are horrible, people are out of control. Hey, this is a cool post. Check out the back of this guy's, tailgate here. It's chaos, and look, like we shouldn't be doing that, right? There is, Dave, one of the reasons I got out of the army is because I was always arguing with colonels, and as a second and first lieutenant and a young cat, like that's not always the best, way to progress your career, right? So I was always
Yeah,
headbutt.
probably not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I had no problem doing it. Like that was a choice I made. I had no problem. I was happy to do that, but I did it respectfully, right? I tried to do it properly. But I don't necessarily think that anybody needs to be respected or revered just because of their rank, their job, their title. Like that, I don't believe in that. Right? I don't care if you're a lawyer, a doctor, a scientist, like whatever your job is, you're still just a guy. You still put your pants on two legs at a time, just like everybody else. But you should still extend a general level of respect and courtesy to people just because they're fellow humans, right? You can still be respectful and courteous, even if you disagree with people, don't like them, disagree with them, whatever it is, like that's fine. You should still be able to be respectful. To the president of the United States, like we shouldn't throw that president, whoever he is, right? And I've got no love lost for George Bush. I've often cursed his name because, frankly, I think he deserves it. But you don't depict them being like violently executed, kidnapped, whatever like that. That's a different level of disrespect, and it's not good for our country. It's not a good example. It's not where we want to be, and it does potentially lead some people to more extreme actions, and actually taking these things seriously and conducting these acts of violence. So people are going to do these things like they're allowed to. It's not illegal. That's fine. We shouldn't necessarily do it, but it's different. But as the Republican nominee for the highest office in the land, probably shouldn't be encouraging that kind of behavior, right? You shouldn't be celebrating that kind of thing, knowing that it could lead some to do the wrong thing, to actually take up violence, take action, on their own. Like you shouldn't be doing that sort of thing. And again, Mr. Trump seems to have a really hard time understanding, or he maybe fully well understands, right, the potential implications of these types of actions. And that's not good for our country. It's reckless. And, like Joe Biden or don't like Joe Biden, we've both expressed like we don't love the president and what he's doing in office. You don't need to show that. Like that's just a different level that you don't need to do. Nor should anybody do that with Donald Trump. Like you shouldn't show Donald Trump in the back of I don't know what's the liberal vehicle of choice, right? Some
Prius? I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I think maybe we're a couple years late on the Prius, but yeah, Donald Trump shouldn't be put on the bumper of a Prius driving down, driving down the road either. It's just not right. We shouldn't be doing that as a country, even if we don't like these people or respect them personally.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think a lot of really good points. And again, I think it's just a window into what we're going to see here. I think that, look, what's the old adage from Dennis Green, the former football coach? They are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
And again, you and I have had this discussion about Vladimir Putin. Like he's telling you what he's going to do. Like this is what he's going to do, and this is how he's going to be. This idea that somehow the former president is going to come into office and do things anything differently
Yeah.
is just not. I mean, why even have those expectations? Because it is going to be this type of thing, this type of environment, and it's going to be 4 more years of like waking up every morning going, "What did the president say today?" type of
But
thing.
you know, Dave, I think people know. I don't think people don't know that. Like, I think those that genuinely support the former president, I think they enjoy it. Like, they want this, right? And that's what they're like. They like his tough guy, authoritarian, you know, BS nonsense that he puts out there. Like that, they find some sort of satisfaction and pleasure in it. And I'm not judging that, right? I am, but I'm not really, right? Like, but I think people know it and they are embracing it for a variety of reasons, right? Which is a whole separate conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be it's challenging, right? I think it's gonna be what we see for these next couple months as we build up to this election. I'm not gonna say it's the election of the century, the election of our lifetime, the election of, that'll be next
It's
time as
coming.
well.
It's coming, yeah.
But this is an important election for a lot of fronts. I mean, you see the Republicans in the House are struggling to keep just their act together, where they're going to face now another likely speaker battle. All instead of governing, we're going to fight again internally, and I think in the process, the Republicans are just damaging their brand identity because I just frankly don't think they have a brand identity. And so what they've allowed themselves is to be, you know, uh, I guess bullied into this having to be this type of thing. You have a couple media whores, for lack of a better word, that know how to exploit the media coverage, know how to bring the attention to them, and then you can build from that. And the more we make stories about these people, the more it just seems to rally some of their supporters. So good stuff on the political front, Andy. Definitely a challenging, fun time. So, anything else on politics, Andy?
Hey, just two quick points on what you were sort of touching on there, Dave. I mean, one, I think interesting to see within the Republican Party as it looks increasingly likely that Mr. Johnson's going to have to fight for his speakership. Interesting to see your continued sort of intra-party fighting. Some of the faith-based conservative media really blasting Marjorie Taylor Greene and her move towards getting rid of the speaker. Again, you're sort of seeing this play out in the Republican Party where there's just so much chaos and confusion within the party and those who support, the party both vocally and financially. Interesting to see it play out because it's just an interesting dynamic. And you, like you said, you really don't know what the party is about, who's who, who supports what, can't manage itself. Interesting to watch that. All just worth noting as we talk about, Trump and we talk about Biden and we talk about RFK, with the passing of former Senator, Vice Presidential candidate Joe Lieberman, and the No Labels Party really struggling to find a champion, right? Chris Christie most recently turning them down to run. I don't know if they're going to get a candidate together. They're going to make a decision here, I think, like very soon on a final go no go. I don't know if they're going to pitch a real choice here from that movement. You've already got RFK out there. You're going to have a libertarian. Maybe that ends up being RFK on the ballot in all 50 states. We'll know that here in a couple months. We'll see. We'll see if No Labels moves forward or not. It's definitely an interesting time at the national level.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we had support or belief that there'd be a viable third party here outside, I mean, or maybe even multiple third parties, really it's boiling down to RFK and see where it goes. You can see Biden is already trying to court Nikki Haley supporters, or he's been trying to court Nikki Haley supporters to say, hey, look, it doesn't have to be this way. Come over to, my side. This is what I have to offer you, which is unlike what for the former president is doing and trying to extend that uniting branch for the Republican Party. It's that vengeance tour he's after. So all fun times there for sure. Andy, which makes the election going to be fun time?
Let me ask you this, Dave. I don't know if time to explore this would be fun to talk about for a whole episode, but this won't happen. Like I'm confident it won't happen. But wouldn't it be quite the interesting thing if Joe Biden actually said, "Look, I really genuinely believe that Donald Trump is a threat to the U.S. and actually created a unity ticket. Imagine if Joe Biden selected a Republican running mate and said, "Look, we need to bring America together. Put politics aside. We'll run and make a unified effort here to do the best thing for America." That would be mind blowing, right? That would, and I think he would hands down win. Because I think those Republicans that are on the fence, would be like, okay, I can live with this. You know what I mean? I think it'd be. I don't think there's any chance in hell that happens, but I think that'd be quite the coup and guarantee Biden the White House and be, to be honest, probably the best thing for America to actually see that we can transcend political divisions. Won't happen, but any thoughts, Dave? Could you imagine that even possibly happening?
Yeah, look, I don't. I mean, we've been talking about this for a little bit. I don't think anybody's in love with Kamala Harris as the vice president of Canada. She's not around. She's non-existent. She's had very limited role um, in the administration. Aside from the first couple of months that she was there. But I mean, honestly, if they had a unity ticket, one that would show that they're transcending politics and traditional political things. I think it'd be I think it'd be great. I think they would win. And I do because I do think again, a lot of people don't want to vote for Biden because of his age and some of the other, kind of stuff. But if they had somebody who was behind Biden that they felt comfortable with, is not any sort of an extremist, but if you could find somebody who's in the middle, I think they'd be really behind that. Now, yeah, I agree. I don't think it'll happen. The Democrats would really put the kibosh on that, but it would be ideal if we could have that. That's what I liked about the No Labels brand. Like, if you could get two people who are more interested in governing and being a unity ticket, I think that would be pretty good.
Yeah,
So,
Biden Romney 2024, right? Well,
yeah,
I'm not a huge fan of either one of those guys, but I mean, Biden Romney would be hard to beat, right? I mean, that's Hulk Hogan and Macho Man Randy Savage teaming up right there, right? That's tough to beat, just because people look and be like, I feel like these guys could govern the country, right? And if
yeah.
Biden were to go down, like Romney could certainly do a fine job. Like, and there's other options out there as well, certainly. But I just think like that would be an incredible moment to see us be able to transcend political parties and say, look, we're going to do the best thing for America. I think that'd be fascinating. Yeah, maybe I would be intrigued by that. I think a lot of Americans would support it. It won't happen. I just want to throw that idea out there.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it'll be we still got a little bit ahead. Maybe there are some surprises in store, but yeah, probably not high on the likelihood
Yeah.
scale. So, Andy, I think we're nearing the end here today. We got a couple things I will talk about. Maybe we'll push to Wednesday. The eclipse thing, the solar eclipse next week, next Monday, is
Yeah.
gaining a lot of attention. Interested in your thoughts there. And then we also, hey, Andy, King Kong and Godzilla, or Godzilla and Kong, killed it at the box office this week.
Yeah.
They've got quite a resurgence going on with King Kong and Godzilla. So that it hit 80 million this weekend, which is a huge number for like a monster flick, for
Yeah,
lack
yeah,
of a
yeah,
better
a
term.
completely
Yeah.
ridiculous movie, but yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
we should
yeah.
we can explore that. I think Dave, we also might discuss Tenacious D. Do you know what I'm talking
Oh, oh yeah.
about? Like Jack Black's stupid voice was in my head all night last night. We need to discuss this because it was unfair. It was cruel, and unusual punishment. It was so yeah. We've got a lot to discuss here, as well as more. I think some on the national political stage, some interesting things there we can talk about. So heaven help us, Dave. Happy appropriate, Dave. April Fool's Day to us with a couple of Gen X fools talking about foolish things we don't need to be talking about. So this all perfectly fits together.
It is a good start for an April Fool's Day. So, all right, Andy, with that, I will then catch up with you next time.